Yeah.
Hello, and welcome again to another evening slash night slash study of the Apocrypha. We're resuming to go through Enoch. I think we're at what 21 or 22. If I remember earlier that we were talking.
22, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going. I think we're shooting for about to go about 25 since I don't have too much time tonight, which is perfectly fine. So anything go on with you this weekend before we begin?
Um, no, I mean, we're everything's going good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, moving in positive directions in all aspects of life, and
Yeah.
you can, you know, some it's a roller coaster every every day is a little different. You gotta stay positive every day because eventually you're gonna get there. So,
True. Very true.
how about you?
For the most part, it was a eventful, eventless weekend. Had my had my back was killing me though, so I kind of had to take it easy and stretch out my muscles a bit. But other than that, it was fine.
Right on.
There we go.
Gotta take care of your bodies, people. Gotta
Yeah,
take care
I
of
don't know. It was weird. Got
your
home and my
set.
back was killing me for some strange reason.
Yeah, happens.
Yeah. Do you want to start reading, or do you
Sure.
want me to?
I can. It does not matter. I'll go ahead, switch over here. Okay, so chapter 22. And just to recap, in chapter 21, we were in the place where the angels are held, I believe, until judgment. So that's just the starting point.
Yeah.
And um, now, chapter 22.
Mm-hmm.
And from here I went to another place, and he showed me in the west a great and high mountain chain, and hard rocks, and four beautiful places. And beneath them there were places deep and broad, and entirely smooth as if a thing were rolled, and deep and dark to look at. At this time, Raphael, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered and said to me, "These beautiful places are intended for this, that upon them may be assembled the spirits, the souls of the dead, for they have been created that here all the souls of the sons of men might be assembled. These places have been made their dwelling till the day of their judgment, and to their fixed period, and this period is long, till the great judgment will come over them. And I saw the spirits of the children who of men who had died, and their voices reached up to heaven and lamented. At that time I asked the angel Raphael, who was with me, and said to him, "Whose soul is that one whose voice thus reaches to heaven and laments?" And he answered and said to me, saying, "That is the spirit that proceeded from Abel, whom his brother Cain slew, and it laments on his account till his seed be destroyed from the face of the earth, and his seed disappear from among the seed of men." And at that time I therefore asked concerning him, and concerning the judgment of all, and said, "Why is one separated from the other?" And he answered and said to me, "These three apartments are made in order to separate the souls of the dead, and thus are the souls of the just separated. There is a spring of water above it, light. Right, there is a spring of water above it, light. There we go. And thus also is one such apartment made for sinners when they die and are buried in the earth, without a judgment having been passed upon them during their lives. Here their souls are separated into this great affliction until the great day of judgment and punishment and affliction upon the revilers to eternity, and the vengeance for their souls. And here he binds them to eternity. And if it was before eternity, then this apartment has been made for the souls of those who lament and those who reveal their destruction when they were killed in the days of the sinners. And thus it has been created for the souls of men who were not just, but sinners, who were complete in their crimes. And they will be with criminals like themselves, but their souls will not be killed on the day of judgment and will not be taken from here. At that time, I blessed the Lord of glory and said, Blessed is my Lord, the Lord of glory and of justice, who rules all things to eternity.
Now, my question is, do you see this as like something past tense or current?
Well, definitely current, because judgment hasn't happened yet. Judgment Day, that day had happened. And it's hard to speculate about things that we can't see.
Yeah.
But this this goes right along with every ancient thought and belief. Also, there is a place where the souls go, and they're separated based on their punishment. I think this is the simplest way that I've heard it put at all. Basically, sinners that have karmic debt are in one place. Sinners that don't have karmic debt are in another place. And then believers are in a third place, and martyrs are in a fourth place. And that's the way that it put it. Basically.
Now, here's a good question that I know some people will be asking. With those 3 locations, and I think this is much more of a kind of like a Rosicrucian idea, is that Earth itself is like in three different it's in the same spot, but there's like 3 overlapping. And so like I know there are some people who believe that like human spirits / souls, whichever word you want to use, are still on this earth and quote unquote haunting certain things. Do you think that this could be talking about that, or in a whole different sense, or a whole different idea?
Well, I think that they're trying to understand in a different way without necessarily this book, or trying to reason with our current way of viewing the world and the universe and everything. Trying to reason something that's really hard to fit into that worldview. But if you can, I don't think that it's necessarily, I don't know, it's so complicated. There's so many factors that go into it.
Exactly.
The dead do go somewhere when they die, and they're not gone. They can be contacted. That's in the Bible. It's not supposed to happen, but it can happen. It's not, So, I don't know. I personally think that a lot of, if you go back to that map that I shared with you last week, it kind of fits into a lot of the ancient beliefs. Like, you have to get on a boat to go to the afterlife, because it's a different land that's not connected to our land, and you have to go by water to get there, or whatever. And that fits in with my current worldview with the flat earth. Maybe it's just outside of the ring, and we don't know. We don't know how any of it's put together. It could be a totally different place on a totally different plane of existence, or whatever.
Exactly. And I find it interesting how, of course, this is just giving like us a basic overview of certain things, and it is detailed, but it's also like an overview. And because like I think Enoch says, have we already gone over this, or is this more later on, where it says that only he will be able to see these specific, or these secrets, and no one else?
I think it's only said that only he has been shown, but only up to that point.
that makes sense.
Up to that point, he's the only person that had ever been shown any of those things. And I think that's how it, especially back then, there might have been a lot of stories about things. And the way God works is he sets the record straight. He comes and says, no, that's not really what it was. It's really like this.
Yeah. All right.
So that also leads to a lot of similarities between other religions and, Hebrew and everything, because the other religions saw what worked and they tried to do it, but they didn't have the real story.
Yeah. And let me make reference here is that in 22 there was 3 different areas where there was Second Maccabees that was referred to in chapter 12 verse 41 to 45, and then Genesis 4:8 through 12, and then 2 Peter 3:7 were all referenced in that chapter. I'll read 23 and 24.
Okay.
Alright, from here I went to another place to the west of the ends of the earth, and I saw a burning fire which ran without resting, and never stopped from its course day or night, but flowed always in the same way. And I asked, saying, what is this which never stops? Then Raguel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered me and said, this is course of fire which you have seen in the fire in the west, and is the fire of all the lights of heaven. 24. And from here I went to another place on earth. Interesting. And he showed me a mountain range of fire which burned day and night, and I went beyond it and saw 7 magnificent mountains, all differing from each other, and their stones were magnificent and beautiful, and their form was glorious. 3 towards the east, 1 founded on another, and 3 others the south, 1 on the other, and deep, rough ravines, no one of which joined with any other. Not sure what that meant exactly. We might get your version of that one. And the 7th mountain was in the midst of these, and it was higher than them, resembling the seat of a throne. And the fragrant trees encircled the throne, and among them was a tree such as I had never smelled, nor was any among them, or were others like it. It had a fragrance beyond all fragrance, and its leaves and blooms and wood would not ever wither, and its fruits is beautiful, and its fruit resembled the dates of a palm. Then I said, how beautiful is this tree, and fragrant, and its leaves are fair, and its blooms very delightful in appearance. Then Michael, one of the holy and honored angels, who was with me, and their leaders spoke. Oh, that's a nice way to end that one chapter. Here is one thing that I noticed. It could have been saying this entire time, but in the first verse of 23 and 24, it ended with saying, on the earth. So what he's being shown was actually on the earth and not in heaven at this point, which I find interesting.
Under the dome. That's what makes me look back to that other map and think, I just don't think that we know everything that's been created inside the dome.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because it's not meant for us to, but there's places where we're not supposed to go. Like you said, it's on the earth because that's where men are supposed to dwell. We weren't supposed to, be anywhere else. And that's where we're going to end up again. Our next life will be on the earth made new.
Yeah.
That's the promise that is in the Bible. So
it kind of makes me wonder where he was talking about the mountain range of fire. I wonder if he was seeing like a volcano.
Yeah, probably. But not just, it's like there's different things in it, like that burning fire which thou seest running towards the west is the fire of all the luminaries of heaven. Like maybe the luminaries stop there every day when they come around and get their cup of fire to who knows what they do. We're not there to watch them. They're there to watch us.
Yeah. It's One of these days we'll
But
have.
yeah, I went to another place of
Mhm.
the earth.
Yeah,
That's very.
exactly.
Also, it reminds me like earlier. I can't remember which chapter it was, but
Mhm.
now he's saying to the west, to the west, to the west. And in that other chapter, the one time that was something specific that people would necessarily know
Mhm.
where it is, he used way more specific directions
Yeah.
to the evening side, or to the right of the evening side of the
Mhm.
mountain, when he could have just said south. So that's interesting as well to me.
Mhm.
Like, what did northwest, south, or north, south, east, and west, or whatever, mean to
And my
them,
question
really?
is, and where was the center point?
Right? Yeah. Where's the center? Where are you starting from?
Yeah.
That's important.
All right. You want to read 25?
Sure.
Cool.
Excuse me. Let's see. Okay, 25. And he said to me, Enoch, what dost thou ask me concerning the fragrance of this tree, and dost seek to know? Then I, Enoch, answered him, saying, concerning all things I desire to know, but especially concerning this tree. And he answered me, saying, this high mountain which thou hast seen, whose summit is like the throne of God, is the throne where the holy and great God of glory, the eternal King, will sit when he shall descend to visit the earth with goodness. And this tree of beautiful fragrance cannot be touched by any flesh until the time of the great judgment, when all things will be atoned for and consummated for eternity. This will be given to the just and humble, for its fruits, or from its fruits, life will be given to the chosen. It will be planted towards the north in a holy place, towards the house of the Lord, the eternal King. Then they will rejoice greatly and be glad in the Holy One. They will let its fragrance enter their members and live a long life upon the earth, as thy fathers lived, and in their days no sorrow or sickness or trouble or affliction will touch them. Then I blessed the Lord of glory, the eternal King, because he had prepared such for the just men, and had created such, and said he would give it to them. That goes back to what I just said. That's the promise, to live eternally and to enjoy the fruit of life.
Mhm.
You know, that's what that is. That's
Mhm.
the fruit of life. We've shown the tree of life. It didn't disappear. We just can't touch it right now.
Interesting. One of these days, I'll be able to put more thought into this stuff. Because it's so much information, and just to focus on like one particular thing is just too much.
Right.
Yeah, it's too much. Like, okay, so the few references in here was Genesis 2:8-17, Revelation 22:1-3, and then Ezekiel 47:12. And that's just too much to read. I'll go ahead and read 26, and then we can call it from there. And I apologize to everyone for it being short tonight. And I went from there to the middle of the earth, and I saw a blessed place in which there were trees which branches, the wording is weird. Branches alive and blooming on a tree that had been cut down. Oh, with branches alive. That makes a lot more sense.
Which rooted in and sprouted out of a tree that was cut, is how mine puts it.
Yeah. Then verse 2, and there I saw a holy mountain, and underneath the mountain to the west there was a stream, and it flowed towards the south. And I saw towards the east another mountain higher than this, and between them a deep and narrow valley. In it ran a stream underneath the mountain, and to the west of it there was another mountain lower than the former, and a small elevation, and a dry, deep valley between them, and another deep valley, and cat. Another deep valley and dry valley was at the edge of the three mountains, and all the valleys were deep and narrow, being formed from hard rock, and there were no trees planted on them. And I was very amazed at the rocks in the valleys. I really wonder what areas he's talking about here in each and every place.
Right. Most people that are any kind of conspiracy people have heard of a few different stories of the North Pole, including the legend of Santa Claus, because there is a land up there that's a magical land, supposedly, in the middle of, or actually at the North Pole, and it's not what we are told that it is. Anybody that wants to delve into those, it's a story from a Norwegian fisherman about traveling through basically the center of the earth, coming out in the South Pole-ish kind of ocean. You only know that because there's penguins when they return, but not when they're leaving. But they went just north, and then all of a sudden it got warm, and there was actually somewhere to be. And it's interesting. There's actually birds that live up there in Norway and Sweden and stuff actually flock north for the winter.
I wonder why they do that, other than it being like cooler weather. Wait a minute, for the winter?
For the winter. They flock north. They migrate north for the winter and then come south in the spring.
That's just weird.
Right. So why would they go to the north if there's nothing there?
You would think that they would go south for the winter for warmer weather and back up north, so that they can keep some kind of...
But if there's a beautiful land in the middle of everything where it has this huge mountain that can magically look everywhere, then you have the location that the devil took Jesus to show him all the kingdoms of the whole world at the same time, and you have the mountain where Mount Olympus is of legend, and you have the mountain where Odin and Thor look down upon everything, and it puts a lot of pieces together from a lot of places. I mean, there's a lot of legend that points to a land and a mountain at the North Pole. Mount Meru is what a lot of cultures call it, and it is the magnetic mountain that makes this point that way. So there's that too.
Interesting.
But who knows? Right. We can't go there and check it out. So I can't say 100% sure, but there's more to the North Pole than what we're told, I believe.
Yeah. Because I find myself and this is what I call meditation, and just kind of focusing on certain, whether it's a certain scripture or a certain aspect or something like that, that has to do, the thousands, millions aspects of the Lord or something that he tells us, and I focus on it for for a couple days, hours, weeks, and it's like this information just starts coming to me, and then eventually it gets confirmed by scripture. I get synchronicities, and to do that in for some part of the Bible and also this, it's like too much.
Yeah. It's definitely more and more interesting the more you read it and actually take it seriously and think about it.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that as we continue on, we'll read things in here, and then what we read weeks ago, we'll start coming back and we can start tying things together even more and just create even more and more discussion. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean this book ties the New and Old Testament together, and this book ties a lot of the Bible together. It does. And there's I don't know how many different books you've referenced from it. So even if it's fake, they did a really good job of being consistent with
I agree. Yeah. And
So,
yeah, but I don't know about you, but I've like I think I mentioned this like last week or whatever. I had a friend of mine just message me out of nowhere, and telling me, and he didn't really even know that he had saw the post, but he didn't really know that like we were actually doing this, and then I was doing the thing on Fridays. But it was a good confirmation out of nowhere that I'm like, okay, this is good that we're doing.
yeah, no, it definitely is. I had some confirmation today. God told my wife that I'm supposed to be doing this, and told her some other things. So that's good. That's any kind of confirmation is good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
You like those little breadcrumbs that say you're doing good, son. Keep it up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, sorry, folks, but we're gonna cut it short this week. Hopefully, next week will be longer, and we'll be able to go in more in depth and everything. But
put questions in. If you have a question, put a question in. We want to know. We want to answer them. We want your opinions. We want comments. Everything.
You literally took the words out of my
Oh,
brain. I'm like opening my mouth to say, if you have any questions, put them in there. We'll answer them next week. Next thing you know, you're saying it. I'm like, never mind.
I'm sorry. The spirit is definitely in it, though. There you go. We're connected.
Yes.
Speaking out of each other's mouths through this, so that's good.
True story. All right. Well, let me close this off, and I'll give you a call in just a few. All right, bro?
All right.
All right. Y'all take care, and y'all have a good night. Everyone knows of the Discord app. Well, we have a growing community that enjoys having deep discussions and living life together. So if you're interested or have been looking for a community like that, be sure to click the link in the description to join us. We'd love to have you. Since biblical times, dreams have been a way for God to speak to us, and He has given His people gifts to interpret those messages for His people. I have been studying and interpreting dreams for years now, and the reviews people leave speak for themselves, so be sure to go to my website and request a session to see what God is showing you in the dream state. www.thegothicmystic.com